Okay, let's go to Washington, D.C. Joshua Haber is there, an analyst on the New America Foundation's Middle East Task Force. Your assessment of the possibility of any kind of success if Geneva 2 takes place?
Thank you. Well, first of all, there is plenty of skepticism to go around for prospects at Geneva. There are certainly many obstacles ahead. The Assad regime, its attendance at Geneva is predicated not on its desire to achieve a peaceful negotiated solution or ceasefire, but rather its desire to expand its diplomatic profile and win international support, greater support for its position fighting terrorists. But nonetheless, I think we should be hopeful about two possible areas of progress. The first lies in the humanitarian track. Of course, there could be a possible agreement between regime and opposition forces on easing the humanitarian suffering and on the regime providing greater access to humanitarian aid inside Syria to its most affected areas. And also, it is an international conference, so we should hope that the international actors, as well as regional states, could come to some kind of baseline agreement that could potentially move the process forward in future conferences.
Okay, let's go back to something that was discussed a lot maybe 6-9 months ago, not so much now, and that is the influence of Russia and China on the one hand and the United States and its friends on the other hand. If those two blocs don't change their stance before the conference, there's very little point in saying that neither of the main players in the conflict should change their stance.
Well, indeed, you're correct that Russia and the United States are two pivotal actors, but this conference does provide yet another opportunity for these actors to not only engage bilaterally, but multilaterally with other actors, including Syrian opposition and regime forces. And, we can hope that despite the current positions of Russia and the United States, that both actors can perhaps come to some sort of agreement to de-escalate the conflict or come up with some, just baseline arrangements of what a transition or ceasefire might actually look like in the time ahead.
It all sounds, Joshua, as though the very best that can be hoped for is something that is a million miles away from ending the conflict, a million miles away from seeing any kind of transitional government there.
Well, unfortunately, civil wars like what we're witnessing in Syria take often many years to resolve themselves. But this is also a conflict where international powers have been deeply involved from the beginning, and therefore their enhanced involvement and diplomatic leadership of countries like the United States can help to accelerate conditions more favorable to a ceasefire. So Geneva does present that beginning opportunity to engage on an international scale and come up with some basic parameters toward a transition arrangement, hopefully away from Assad.
Thank you. Thanks very much indeed. Joshua Haber talking to us from Washington, D.C.